with another reaction video, and we got this criminal insulted Larry Bird, and here's what happened after. Now, as you can see, as a thumbnail, it's Dennis Rodman, so I know Dennis Rodman been in some stuff, so I'm guessing this might be covering, like, at that time when the Pistons, Isaiah Thomas, I don't know, but it's saying after too, so we're gonna get straight into this, y'all. Let's get into it. Let's see what this video's hitting for. Let's see what this talking about. Let's get it.
Court, they find Bird. He's going to have to put it up. He does. And hits at the buzzer.
Is overrated in a lot of areas. I don't think he's the greatest player. He's way overrated. Why does he get so much publicity? Because he's white. You never hear about a black player being the greatest. That's what Dennis Rodman had to say about Larry Bird in 1987 after the Boston Celtics eliminated the Detroit Pistons in the
Okay, so far it is Dennis Rodman, okay.
Playoffs. But you know what's even more incredible? Rodman was just a rookie who had been selected with the 27th pick in the 1986 draft and who had averaged 15 minutes a night during that season. Now, there are a number of unwritten rules in the NBA, especially in the case of a rookie, but probably the most important one is the one Dennis broke with those statements. Yeah, I'm talking about that unwritten rule that says, don't poke the bear. But he wasn't the only one. Isaiah Thomas, the Pistons star, not only didn't back down from his teammates' statements, he actually agreed with him. Something inexplicable if the person you're railing against is a three-time NBA champion who just won 3 consecutive regular season MVPs. It was at this moment when Larry, as MJ liked to say, took that personally. But his revenge, which would not be immediate, would be as bloody as you could imagine. It was 1987, and nobody, absolutely nobody, was better than Larry Bird. He was the most dominant, most successful, and most spectacular player in basketball. His ability to manage the pace of the game at will was something no one had ever seen in the NBA. He was the most complete player in history. It's that simple. An all-around player who was capable of doing anything to lead his team to a championship. And the truth is that he had already done it on 3 occasions. Bird had not only starred in what was probably the best 3-year run in the history of the league, winning 3 consecutive regular season MVPs, something, by the way, that has not happened since. Yeah, not Jordan, not LeBron. You're hearing that right. Nobody has done it since Bird did it from 1984 to 1986. And his averages in those seasons? 26 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals per game with 50% from the field, and almost 40% in three-pointers and 89% in free throws. Larry had proven that his play style was capable of turning any team in the league into a multiple NBA champion. But in 1987, he had become a different beast, averaging 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists per game, with an efficiency that allowed him to enter the 50-40-90 club, all while playing a league-high 40.6 minutes per game. Bird just wanted to get his 4th ring at any cost. His mission, however, was not easy. During the 1987 playoffs, Bird not only had to get past Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls in the first round, and Terry Cummings and Sidney Moncrief's Milwaukee Bucks in the second round, but in the conference finals, the Detroit Pistons once again awaited them. And during the previous seasons, the Celtics' superiority had resulted in the team having a record of 12 wins and 2 losses during the conference finals, which they were always able to dominate. However, that year, Bird would have to give it his all to beat the Pistons in 7 games. After winning the first 2 games of the series, the Pistons reeled off 2 straight wins to tie it up. And in Game 5, one of the most iconic plays of Larry Bird's career took place. Now, Bird didn't just steal the ball to win Game 5 and give the Celtics the lead in the series. With a 37.9 rebound, 9 assist performance on just 24 shots from the field, Larry robbed the Pistons of their chance to advance to the finals for the first time since 1956, more than 30 years earlier. And that was the moment. That was the moment when Dennis Rodman and Isaiah Thomas showed their honest opinion of who at the time was considered the greatest player of all time. Rodman.
Larry Bird was the god in the NBA. You know, he's like the great white hope. And I said, if Larry was a black guy, he just would be a regular old basketball player.
Quote, Larry Bird is overrated in a lot of areas. I don't think he's a
Dude, Dennis is just a hater, man. He's just a hater.
greatest player. He's way overrated. Why does he get so much publicity? because he's white. You never hear about a black player being the greatest. Isaiah Thomas, quote, Larry Bird is very overrated. Won 3 straight MVPs because he's white. If he was black, he'd be just another good guy. Now keep one thing in mind, Rodman wasn't that player who was able to intimidate with his presence alone. Not yet. The forward was a rookie with a supporting role on a team that had 3 stars of the quality of...
Even if he wasn't a rookie or whatever, he was not touching Larry Bird. It don't matter. Even if the time was with the Bulls and if Larry was good, never. Even if Larry was hurt and he still no. Stop it.
Isaiah Thomas, Bill Laimbeer, and Adrian Dantley. That aura that accompanied him during his 3 championship run with Mike and Scotty on the Bulls wasn't there yet. He was a forward who simply stood out for his defensive versatility and rebounding ability, and was regarded league-wide as an offensive liability. But Bird, despite having plenty of arguments to answer his disrespect, decided not to. He simply decided that time would put everyone in their place. And his revenge, well, yeah, it would come on the basketball court. It was November 15th, 1987. It was the first game between the Detroit Pistons and Boston Celtics after the incendiary statements of Dennis Rodman and Isaiah Thomas. And Bird was on a mission to humiliate the one who had disrespected him. And that would be the first of the matchups between the two players, who played a total of 6 crossovers during that regular season. In that first game, Bird signed a performance of 27 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists while shooting 60% from the field. And not only was one of the best defenders in the league unable to stop Bird, an elite defensive system like the Detroit Pistons, who would dominate...
Give me 1 second, y'all. I gotta open the door for my girl. Hold on.
Dominate the Eastern Conference for years to come, were unable to stop the production of a player who wanted to run all over him. And yes, the Pistons did win the game, but Larry not only put in an incredible performance while being defended by Rodman, but he also increased his desire for revenge for the next game, January 13th, 1988. The Celtics would host the Pistons at the Garden, which was one of the most hostile environments in the NBA. And that night, Bird was not only able to surpass his previous scoring performance with 28 points, but he also had one of the best playmaking displays of his career with 13 assists and 0 turnovers. But the worst was not his ability to do whatever he wanted with Rodman on virtually every play of the game, and it was not the fact that the Celtics won the game by 38 points. Everyone could see that. The most humiliating part about all this was what the cameras didn't catch. Quote, I would be all over him, trying to deny him the ball, and all Larry was doing was yelling at his teammates. I'm open. Hurry up before they notice nobody's guarding me. Coach, you better get this guy out and send in somebody who's going to D me up because it's too easy when I'm wide open like this. Rodman himself later confessed how Larry treated him during those games as if he didn't exist, as if he was completely invisible. Bird made him see that his defensive capabilities were not only insufficient, but non-existent. And that one-sided rivalry in the matchup that they would star in during that season, it didn't end there. Bird would put in a performance of 25 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, and 2 steals in the third game. And then another performance of 26 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists in the fourth. And another performance of 32 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists in the fifth game. And then 22 points, 4 rebounds, 9 assists, and 4 blocks in the sixth. From the low post, from the mid-range, from the paint, from the three-point line, Larry's arsenal was so incredibly dense that Rodman couldn't even dream of the Celtics forward having a bad performance for at least one day. And why? Because it was personal. The Pistons were one of the best teams in the East, and as we said, they had one of the best defenses in the league. They were a team that wasn't worried about using toughness on every possession, and their players were ready for any battle. But they also were not prepared to stop the best player of their generation. It's that simple. And although Detroit was on an upward progression, and the complete opposite of the Celtics, who had already passed their prime, Bird forced Rodman to eat his words. And the reality is that for the next 30 years, Rodman was unable to disrespect Larry Bird ever again. The masterclass the forward gave him was so absolutely dominating that he was unable to say anything ever again, even when he became world champion with the Chicago Bulls. But one thing is certain. Even more than 30 years later, Bird has been living rent-free in Rodman's head, and that's not something I'm making up. Look at these statements Dennis, the three-time NBA champion, gave in 2023. Quote, "If Larry Bird played in this era, I think he'd be playing overseas in Europe. I'm just letting you know, man, he'd be somewhere over there. His game was fit for Boston at that time in the 80s and stuff like that, but in today's world, oh hell no, there's no way." Now, let's ignore the fact that the skill set needed to play in the league today is completely different than what was needed in the 80s. Yes, we're just going to overlook that. If a unicorn like Larry Bird was able to reinvent basketball with his game, who was able to score from anywhere on the court and in any context, who was able to find the open man in any situation, and who was able to be one of the best defenders in the NBA, is not able to adapt his game to the modern NBA, where does that leave Dennis Rodman? Would a player like him be able to survive in today's basketball? Come on, man. If players like Ben Simmons, who were able to average 17 points per game in their prime years, aren't able to find many minutes just because they don't shoot threes, does anyone think Rodman would be able to adapt? Of course, this is kind of a stupid debate. If Bird had been born in another context, his environment would have forced him to be a different player. But the talent has always been there, and he would have been able to adapt in any context. Comparing eras with any other purpose than just observing the evolution of basketball is simply absurd. Now, if there is one thing that the history between Larry Bird and Dennis Rodman has proven, it's just don't poke the bear. Throughout the history of the league, there is something that has always happened, and in fact still happens today. You don't have to go back any further than the LeBron James and Dylan Brooks situation a few months ago. There is an ironclad law of the NBA. If you're going to talk shit about a generational player, you better be a generational player yourself before you do it, okay? In the end, Bird enjoyed his retirement by becoming the coach of the Indiana Pacers for 3 seasons and winning NBA Coach of the Year in one of them, as well as getting an NBA Finals appearance in his short career as a coach. He then went on to serve 14 seasons as president of basketball operations for the Indianapolis organization. And Rodman, well, he had legal problems of all kinds from 1999 until 2019, in which he was accused of numerous crimes of different nature, such as battery or DUI, along with a whole bunch of shenanigans that ultimately ended up affecting his entire reputation. So I guess what I'm trying to say is time puts everyone in their place. Am I right? All right, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you thought down in the comments. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.
Alright, y'all, this wraps up that video. But like, I was right then, so it was Dennis Rodman. Definitely was Dennis Rodman. That's crazy, but nah, that was a good video. But on to the next video. Appreciate all the love and support. I'm out of here. Subscribe if you're new. Hit that like button, turn on that bell. And I'm out. Love y'all so much. Peace.